Good morning. Today is Wednesday, the 5th day of Tishrei. We are in the middle of chapter 20 of Igeret HaKodesh, the holy letters of the Alter Rebbe. And we discussed yesterday about the two ways of evolving, actually two ways of one coming something from something else. One way is called Ila ve'alul, which means that's like a cause and effect. And when there is a cause and effect, think about it like in terms of like a chain which has rings, that one is connected to the other. And that can be a very long chain, but they're all connected to one another. When you're talking about a cause and effect, then the effect knows and feels a connection to its cause. One of the things we can think about cause and effect is like emotions. Your emotions, where does your emotion come from? Emotions comes from the intellect. When you understand something, you connect to it, and as an effect is emotion comes. But in the emotions you feel the intellect also, and in the intellect you also have a little of the emotions, because they're connected to each other. And therefore, by a cause and effect, being that the effect knows that it comes from its source and it feels its source, therefore the effect is nullified to its source. He knows that whatever he has comes from its source. The other way is the yesh me'ayin, the creation, which is ex nihilo. And there, when you create something from nothing, then the something doesn't feel its source. It is not a connection. There is a leap over there. There's something which is only Hashem can do, to create it in a way that the creation does not feel at all where it's coming from. The whole chapter is an essay, a letter that the Alter Rebbe wrote before his passing, and what he brings out in this letter is the importance how Hashem is really in the physical creation. The essence of Hashem is here even more than in the spiritual things. And therefore, when we're talking about mitzvahs, there's some mitzvahs that a person performs using the intellect more. One would think that these type of mitzvahs, you have more spirituality there. Something that like the mitzvah of loving Hashem, fear Hashem, you would think that there is more godliness in there compared to the mitzvahs, which is as very simple, plain, physical mitzvah. You take a piece of tefillin and wrap it around your hand. But here the Alter Rebbe explains in the chapter that the opposite is true, and that in the physical mitzvahs, being that this is creation, something from nothing, it must be that the very essence of Hashem is in there. So the Alter Rebbe will continue now, and we'll look inside. Says the Alter Rebbe, "V'yesh me'ayin nikra b'riya b'lashoin HaKodesh." The coming about of the creation, something from nothing, ex nihilo, yesh me'ayin, is called b'riya, creation, in the Holy Tongue, in Lashon HaKodesh. Now, says the Alter Rebbe, is asking a question. והגם שהיש הנברא הוא גם כן כלא יחשיב כמי. We said before that the difference between cause and effect and creating something from nothing is that by cause and effect, the effect feels the source and therefore nullified to its source. It knows that it is nothing without its source. But by yesh me'ayim, when we create something from nothing, the yesh, the creation, does not feel its source, says the Alter Rebbe, but wait a second. The yesh anivra, the creation, the created substance, is also nothing before him. The hainu, which means shebatel b'metzius legabi hakoyach va'era shefeya boy, which means that it is essentially not existent in relation to the energy and the light that flows into it. That the creation is nothing compared to the light that flows into it. Ma'akelim the yutzviras the atzilas b'riya yitzir siya, which comes from the vessels of the 10 attributes of the world, Atzilas, b'riya, yitzir siya, the 4 worlds. Shakav oirin soif baruch hu meir behem. Shakav oirin soif baruch hu meir behem, that which has the light, the Ein Sof light radiates in it. Keziv hashemesh b'hashemesh, just like the ray of the sun within the sun, the ray of the sun before it comes out from the sun, when it's still in the sun, is completely nullified. As we explained in the first part of the Tanya called Likutei Amorim, in the second part, which is the Shar Yichud Emunah, the Hainu Kamei Dafke. So what does it mean? Says the Alter Rebbe, Hainu Kamei Dafke. So basically what it explains is that there's two understandings. There is the understanding the way it is from above and the understanding the way it's from below. The way it's from above, the way Hashem looks at it, the way it's in front of the source, then we are nothing. The knowledge of Hashem, it is only before him, as seen from the heavenly perspective, which is his knowledge, his perspective, in the perspective from above to below, downwards. There, we really don't exist. We really are nothing. But when we're talking about the yediyah, the knowledge which comes from mata l'mayla, from the knowledge that we perceive from below upwards, hayesha nivra, u'davar nifrad legamre, v'yediyah v'asog hazu shemimata. The created yesh, the created something, is an altogether separate thing in the knowledge and apprehension from below. That means, because the force that creates it and continuously flows into it is not understood by the created being at all. Why do we call it that we are something from nothing? Hashem is nothing. Obviously, Hashem is the real thing. We are nothing. But the fact is that we do not understand, unlike the cause and effect. When having a cause and effect, the effect understands and appreciates where it's coming from. The creation, which is something from nothing, the created being does not understand, does not comprehend at all where it's coming from. Does not comprehend at all the different existence, the existence of God. That's one thing. And a second point is, vegam ein haroich ze laze klal. Also, there is no comparison at all from one to another. There is no comparison at all. Loi minei veloi miktsasi. Ma'erech shema'olul al-ayila. The cause and effect, they have some kind of comparison. Of course, even though, for example, the intellect is much greater, much higher than the emotions, but still there is a comparison. There is some intellect in the intellect itself. There is some emotions in the intellect also. There's some excitement in the intellect, and there is logic in the emotions also. They have some kind of comparison there. But when we're talking about creation of something from nothing, they're not the same type of existence. Spirituality is not a physical things at all. That's why it doesn't matter how much, as we said, as we used this example yesterday, when you understand how to build a house with bricks, from thinking and studying, whatever will never come out an actual brick. You cannot, there is no comparison when you create something from nothing, there's no comparison at all. Because the Olul knows and has some apprehension of its ilah, of its cause. The effect has some apprehension of its ilah, of its cause. And it becomes nullified in relation to it through this knowledge and apprehension. When you understand where your source is, you become nullified to it. And also, even in the respect with their intrinsic nature and the essence, there is not such a great distinction between the cause and the effect, between the ilah and the olam. Except that this is a ilah and this is a cause and this is an effect. And this distinction is not partially and not even minimally resembles to the distinction between the essence of a created substance and the essence of the energy and light that flows into it. Which creates it from something, from nothing. This is why the creation is called precisely yesh me'ayin ex nihilo, that is something out of nothing. So tomorrow, the Alter Rebbe is going to continue this, giving more examples. So we get from here the idea of the difference between these two evolutions, if we want to call it, the evolution of yesh me'ayin, something from nothing, and the evolution of ilah me'olul, the cause and the effect. So Bezrat Hashem, we'll continue tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Thank you for joining. Any questions? Now is the time.